Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Piro. I am your art teacher for this school year. I teach preschool through 5th grade, so I'll be teaching everybody here at the elementary school. Just a few things about me. You might notice that I look a little different this year if you had me last year. That is because I am going through cancer treatments. So I lost all of my hair, so I'll be wearing head covers most of the time. I do have wigs at home, but I will rarely use them. So if you do see me with one, that's a special day. I will also be wearing a mask most of the time. This is to help me not get sick during the school year, even though I know we all get sick during the school year at some point or another. But this is hopefully to prevent me from getting sick on top of everything else that I need to do. I will answer any questions that you might have about my cancer or cancer treatments, but Mrs. King and Mrs. Brokowski will talk to you about everything that I'm kind of going through in general at the beginning of the year. But if you have any further questions, you can ask me at an appropriate time, and that time would be when I'm not actively teaching, when we have a moment where we're just talking freely or anything like that. Questions need to stay appropriate and within an appropriate amount of time. If I ever feel like I can't answer a question, I will let you know. So moving on, a few things about this school year are we're going to start off with an art activity this week. And we won't dive into the social contract or very detailed things about the rules until next week. But there are a few things that you need to know in order to get the day started. As you came in, you may have noticed that you are allowed to sit wherever you wanted today, but there will be a seating chart started next week. So your actions and behaviors today might affect how that seating chart is created. So if you like where you're sitting and you want to be sitting next to your friends, then make sure you're behaving where you're sitting, or you're very likely not going to be sitting there next week. But the seating chart is arranged typically by who I think is going to learn best in that location. I try and make sure there's boys and girls at each table when I make a seating chart. And if I know that there's going to be behavior issues, then I won't sit those people next to each other. I don't know everything always with behaviors, who you get along with, who you're friends with, and things like that. So when I do create the seating chart, it's going to be kind of a rough draft until we see how it goes. Okay. So to point out things in the classroom where they are, you're going to need to know that for today to be able to get started. Typically, I'll kind of point out where things are in the room based on the video. So to the right of the door that you walked in, there is a example board where most of the examples will be hung up of what we are doing that day. So when you walk in, you'll know exactly what we're working on, and the learning targets will be there also, so you know what goals you need to accomplish. Next to that are the STAR student boards and the teacher assistant boards. We'll talk about that in more detail next week, but that's where that is. The social contract board is right next to those. It's the bright green and pink board with the Mona Lisa. You do need to be a good listener today, so that's what the Mona Lisa is talking about there. So your eyes need to be on the teacher, mouth closed, hands are empty and still when you need to be an active listener. We'll talk more details about what's to be expected of you on the social contract. We'll build that together next week. You guys will be able to sign the paper next to the social contract once we all agree on what should be on that. If you notice, there are 3 lights above the Mona Lisa. Those will be pushed when the class needs to have a warning as far as maybe more than a few people are not following the rules or the social contract. Then that light works as a warning system, okay? So today will be kind of a practice day for that. If we have any issues with anybody misbehaving or anything like that, we'll kind of practice that today if needed. If it's just one person who is maybe not behaving or following the social contract, then I typically just talk to that one person. We'll talk more details about the consequences and things like that next week. Hopefully today will run very smoothly, but if there's anyone who's maybe going above and beyond as far as not following expectations, then we'll deal with those people individually as needed. But everything will be covered in detail next week as far as rules and expectations go. Next to the social contract board, you will see drying racks. That is where we will put wet and sticky papers when they need time to dry. Usually I do not assign a space for you to put your papers there, but in certain special cases I will. So I will let you know if you need to put your paper in a certain spot. Behind the drying racks is the storage room. That's where I kind of keep my extra supplies that I can't fit in the cabinets in the room. Most of the time that door will be closed. You are not to go in there unless you get permission. Sometimes I use that room to store projects when they need to be dried or just to be stored in a safe place. I will let you know if that is needed. To the right of the drying racks is the sink area. That's also what I call the painting area, where I keep most of the paint supplies, and we try and keep most of the paint mess in that area unless we're working on them at the table. As of today, you can use the small watercolor paints with the project that we're going to work on, and we'll get more into detail with that later. Typically, if you have a really big mess, use the big sink. If you have a little mess or just washing your hands, use the little sink. Make sure you're using your good self-guidance on that. To the right of the sink area is the book cabinet. You can use the books and the magazines during your free time. I'll talk more about free time in just a minute. All right, so then we have the blue shelves next to that. The area where it's marked with the days of the week in green is my area for project storage. So you do not go into that area. It's the metal trays that are stacked. On top of that are just more supplies that I have for storage. Below that is what's called the free time area. So you can get supplies from those areas during free time. Free time is when you finish your projects that are assigned you during class and you have some extra time. You can only do free time when I have given you permission and all of your work is done to the best of your ability. Okay. Over in the free time, we have markers, rulers, colored pencils, crayons, stencils. On the bottom section, you have a tub full of blocks and toys. The aprons are down there and you're free to use those whenever you feel like you need to. And then we have 2 tubs with colored paper, both big and small. You can use any of those supplies during free time. Later on in the school year, the watercolor big paint trays will be also open for free time, but not right away. During the first project, we'll use the small ones, but later on, the big paint trays will be open for free time. I will let you know when that is open. To the right of the blue shelves is a black book cabinet that will have color sheets and coloring books. You are allowed to use those during free time as well. This year, I do not have a magnet board. Last year, I feel like the magnet board caused too many issues as far as people not writing nice things on it. It was kind of a cluster back there as far as too many students trying to use it at the same time. So we will not be using the magnet board this year. However, I am looking into getting some individual, small, dry erase boards to add to free time later on in the school year. So I will let you know when those are available. The counter space is to the right of the teacher's table. This is where I keep out all of the supplies that we're currently using for projects. You cannot get anything over there unless I give you permission. Typically, most of the time, getting pencils, if you need one, is okay. Or if you need an eraser, erasers are over there as well. You can sharpen pencils if I give you the okay, but we gotta be careful not to do it during instruction time. And then as you guys notice, when you sit down, the tables are all marked with colors. So if you are at a specific table, that is your table color. And usually when we are organizing things or I call a table or things like that, I usually call it by table color. Okay. Over here where I'm sitting right now is my teacher desk area. This is not an area that you need to go into unless I give you specific permission. On my desk, you can get tissues whenever you need to. Just make sure you're not being excessive with that. Again, staplers and tape can be used with permission from my desk. We will also have a certain area where I have this little bucket of ducks, and I'll talk more about this next week. We will not be using this today. This will be a next week thing that I'll talk about, okay? For older students, grades 3 through 5, there's also, we're still doing the ticket system, and again, I'll talk about that more next week. We will not be doing that this week, okay? To the left of the teacher's desk, we have the screen where you will see examples, demonstrations, anything that we need to use for the lesson besides the examples will be up on the screen, and we'll be using that a lot. And then to the left of that is my demonstration table. This is where I'm going to demonstrate if I need to show you how to do anything or show you a project or whatever the case may be. I will be doing that there, and it will project up on the screen. Okay. If you have any questions about anything, please let me know. So those are the general places in the classroom. I almost forgot to mention that there is also, we have what I call the art library, and that is a collection of books that is up on the whiteboard in the front of the room, that you can take the books whenever it's free time and you want to look at those, but those are books we're actively using for lessons, and those will be up in the front of the classroom. If I missed anything else, I will talk about it next week. It's probably a small thing that do with rules or anything like that, but those are the general places of things in the classroom that you need to know for today. Okay. So typically at the beginning of class, I ask you guys to come in quietly, find your seat, and be ready to be a good listener. Most of the time I either have to demonstrate or tell you something important before the lesson begins. I'm either starting a lesson, demonstrating something, tell you something about the lesson or about the day. So make sure you're ready to come in, sit quietly, and that way we can get started right away. Then typically we get started on the lesson. I might have to intro, demonstrate, talk about, get started. Usually only takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to do that part of the lesson. And then you guys will actively be able to use the rest of the time to work on your projects. I will be walking around the room to check on you, see how you're doing, answer questions, help anybody who might need help. Sometimes I'll be at my desk working on a few things if I feel like everyone's good and actively working. And you're free to ask me questions at any time during your work time. Okay. At the end of class, when it's time to clean up, I will put a timer up on the screen. It's usually 5 minutes, and you guys are expected to start cleaning up and actively start cleaning during that time. Please don't wait. Please do not continue working unless I give you special permission during cleanup time. Okay? And then when cleanup time is over, for the older students, grades 3 through 5, I typically let you line up when cleanup is done. For the younger students, please go back to your seat, and then I will let you know when you can line up. Okay, so if you're in kindergarten, first or second grade, please sit back at your seat when you're done cleaning. Grades 3, 4, and 5, you can line up when you are done cleaning. Okay. At the end of class, after everyone is lined up, and I have either called you to line up or you lined up after cleanup, you'll line up on a line that will be by the example board, and it will wrap around the corner if the class is a little bit bigger or if the line's a little longer. Okay, you will not go in the storage room for your line. It'll wrap around the tables, over by the drying racks, and over by the red trash can. Okay, so when you get in line, you're expected to be in line quietly so we can leave the room in a timely manner. If it takes longer to line up, and it takes a while to get quiet, then you will either be late to recess or late to class, because we will not leave the classroom until you are in a quiet line. Okay? Again, if there's any questions about any of that, please let me know. So grades 3 through 5, you will go to recess after your specials. Okay? So we will walk all the way over to where we need to get out the doors for recess. I believe as of right now that will be back by your park area over in the intermediate side. Grades kindergarten, first and second, I'm not entirely sure where where I will be picking you up for recess as of right now, but after specials you will go right to class. Okay? And I will walk you there. Second grade, special thing for you because you're at the end of the day. Town bus kids, so that means that you get on the bus and get dropped off in town. You will have to clean up slightly earlier than everyone else because you have to go line up for your buses at 2:55. Typically, that is when I have everyone else start cleaning up. So when it's cleanup time for everyone else, you had already been cleaning, you will get your backpack and go line up for your bus. I will help you remember that as we kind of start off the year. And eventually that's just going to be something that you guys know that you will need to do. I'll help you remind you when you need to clean up, and that's just something to be expected, okay? Hopefully I didn't miss anything, but if there's any questions, you can either ask me if I am here, or you can ask the sub if they can answer your questions, or you can wait until I return if you have any questions only I can answer. I hope we have a great school year, and let's get started on making some art.